You're listening to Pushing the Envelope, Life at the Cutting Edge of Customs Innovation. I'm Tom Muller with the Cross-Border Research Association. On this show, we explore the frontiers of customs creativity in conversations with customs and logistics experts, technology innovators, research scientists, and other leaders in the field. This podcast is part of PenCP, a network for boosting customs innovation funded by the European Union under the Horizon 2020 program. Today, I am very honored to be speaking with Nanette van Schelven, the Director General of the Customs Administration of the Netherlands. Before joining the Customs Administration, Nanette spent 8 years at the Ministry of Justice in various management roles, including the Immigration and Naturalization Service. Previous to that, she served in the Ministry of Agriculture, Nature Management and Food Quality, and as Deputy Director of Legal Affairs. Nanette earned her law degree from Leiden University. And hello, Nanette. Thank you so much for joining me on Pushing the Envelope.
Thank you, Tom, and thanks for having me.
As a host of a podcast that explores customs innovation, I'm very excited to be speaking today with the head of one of the most historic, forward-thinking, and innovative customs administrations in the world. Could you share a little bit about your path to the head of this illustrious organization? Could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became involved in customs in the first place?
Well, first of all, I joined the civil servants from the Netherlands because I really believe in working at a governmental level and working for the public in general. Be it farmers, be it physicians, be it customs, be it companies, you really give something to society. And that's my thrive, so to speak. For years, I was a legislator. Like you said, I have a law degree and I was a legislator, and I was quite happy with that work. And I don't know what happened, but suddenly I was into management, and I found that very difficult because, I have learned the skill of being a legislator, and then you become a manager, and you don't know anything. What's management? It's like becoming a mother for the first time. What does a mother do? Suddenly you have a child, and with some falling and hitting my head, etc., I became a manager, and I really liked it because, you have, with a group of people, you can achieve so much. And before that, I was the team player, and I find myself being a little bit of the captain. And my role in management and now as DG in customs has always been that I know the operation. I know what people do in the agency where I work. When I worked at agriculture, I knew what the legislation was. I knew what farmers had to do. I knew what was on the table in Brussels, so to speak. And when after that, I went to the immigration office, so I learned about the laws that they had to implement there. And so I always want to know what is happening here. And well, after immigration office, which were very exciting years and also difficult years, I worked there when we had the war in Syria, and we had a lot of people coming to Europe, and we didn't know if we could give them a bed or a house or whatever, a permit. So that was challenging. And then customs was, the position was available, and I knew nothing about customs. I mean, really nothing. Only when you land with the plane and you come at Schiphol and you see customs officers. So I learned a little bit about it, and I thought, okay, this is a world that is so much broader than the general public knows. And I'm a civil servant. I didn't even know. This is a world that is fascinating, and how come nobody knows about this? Only customs, people who work in customs or companies who have to deal with customs know a little bit about the customs world. But the importance of customs for society, for keeping our borders safe, our country safe, or a level playing field, I mean, it's so broad that, well, they won me over, and I became, in the end, Director General, and I'm now in this position for over 6 years, and I'm still learning every day.
Well, I have to say, I've been impressed by the fact that on the one hand, your collaborators that I've spoken with speak of you with great respect, but also they refer to you by your first name, Nanette, which is unusual. In many customs administrations I've dealt with, it's the Director General said this, the director general said that. And so it seems like you've hit a nice balance in your management style between personal and professional.
Yes, and I think the people in customs, it feels like it's a family. And in a family, you also are most of the time on first name base. I think the family aspect of customs is important. And I find that in every customs organization I visit. So it's not something that's unique within the Netherlands, but it's a kind of customs family all over the world. And I think that makes the work in customs unique. It's very knowledge-based. I'm impressed by what my people know. They are at the border and they have to make a decision in a split second. And they are like walking encyclopedias, and it's amazing. And you need people who stay with your organization for a long time to develop these skills and this knowledge. And well, it would be for me not right if they would refer to me as Director General, but they can call me Nanette, and I'm there to serve them and to applaud them. That's basically my style.
How did your previous experiences, say your law degree, your work at immigration, naturalization, and in the Ministry of Agriculture, how did that shape your approach to customs? Do you see ways in which that background experience has informed your work at customs now?
Well, especially at the Ministry of Agriculture, of course, the laws you have to implement there are also laws customs has to oversee, and also the experience in other agencies and at different ministries, being a legislator, thinking in laws and how they are implemented, helped me to understand customs, because of course it's also rule-based. I think my experience at the Ministry of Agriculture helped me understand the negotiations in Brussels, of course, the contact we have with the Commission. I mean, 99% of the laws we have to implement are drawn there. So how do you make sure that you have as much influence as you want in Brussels? Well, the Ministry of Agriculture, I learned that. I think the Immigration Service really helped me, because that's also has something to do about crossing borders, crossing boundaries.
Right.
In some organizations internationally, you see that border force is also the force who looks into passports of people. We have that divided in the Netherlands. But so it helped me understand international networks. How does Europe work? The Brussels work? And also the importance of working together as countries. If you want something happened, if you want something done within Europe, but also internationally, you have to know each other. So working together is very important. And also on, I think, the topic we're talking today about innovations, I find too much that we all try to invent the wheel ourselves.
Right.
And it would be so much more helpful if we join forces. And I think in customs, that's more easily than in other areas I have worked with.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you say, if it's a family, then families can share information and share techniques and share methods and new technologies. That's kind of the purpose of this podcast, but also the purpose of PenCP, the Pan-European Network of Customs Practitioners, is to share good best practices and make sure people don't reinvent the wheel, as you said. Moving on to customs innovation specifically, what do you see to be the biggest recent innovations in Dutch customs, and how did they come about?
I think what was really a big innovation for us, but that's almost 12 years ago, was installing the X-ray machines into the logistical chain. Before that, we had X-ray machines, and you had to fetch the containers from the terminals to the X-rays machine and bring it back. Mm-hmm. And really thinking with a logistical brain, sitting at the table with terminal operators, with shipping companies, with freighters, with everybody who matters. And I think that's unique in the customs world. We do that a lot. not only public organizations, but also private companies. How does it work, and how can we implement our work in the logistical chain? And it sounds very simple, but it had to be invented. Putting the X-ray machines on the terminal so we can scan much more at a lower cost, at a lower impact in the logistical chain. And those ideas come from sitting together at the table and brainstorming. And what I see most is that it's colleagues on the work floor. So it's not the director general, it's not the directors who come up with those ideas, but it's people in the field who come up with an idea. Another example is, of course, working with drones. We had some people in the harbor of Rotterdam who were very enthusiastic with drones and said, they can help us. They can be our eye in the sky. We need it. We have the eye on the land, we have the eye on the water, but we need the eye in the sky. And that's basically how it started. And they didn't know you had to have permits and have a lot of legal work and become an air company, so to speak, with a license to operate.
Oh, wow.
It took us a few years, but the grassroots ideas came really from there. And now we have drones and we fly them all over the Netherlands. And they can do so much more than we thought at the beginning. That's also something. You come up with an idea and you think it will help me for this. They said it could be eye in the sky for surveillance. What we found out is it can also help us have a drone available when we have intruders in the harbor of Rotterdam, and we have them a lot. And the minute on a terminal an intruder is there, everything has to come to a standstill. And that costs a lot of money.
Oh boy.
And it helps us with the drone to detect those people very quickly. Most of the time it happens in the night. So your vision is not so clear, but the drone can see through everything.
Amazing.
And they can see movement from persons in, for instance, a stack with containers. And we can identify those intruders at I think, in 50 minutes, where it was in previous times, it was an hour.
Wow.
So that is 45 minutes that the terminal is operating instead of standing still. And stuff like that, we didn't know that at the beginning, but it's kind of evaluates. And I think the last thing I can tell is that's also something I'm very proud of, that innovation. It's our odor extracting device. I don't know if you heard about it.
I have. From the stack.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. And if you talk to the people and how they manufactured the device, they started with the attributes of a Hoover machine. And it was too
a vacuum
big.
cleaner.
And then they said, okay, we need the pump of a pond in your garden because that's very thin. And so with things you can find around your house, they started the innovation, and it's it stayed with that because it works. And now we use it in certain situations where it's difficult to get the containers out. It's difficult to get the dog there. You extract the odor. You don't have to open anything. You bring the odor in the pot to the dog, and the dog can, within a minute, it's like 60 containers, smell if there's cocaine in it or not. So I think people who work at customs are brilliant.
This concludes the first part of my Pencast conversation with Nanette van Schelven, Director General of the Customs Administration of the Netherlands. Tune in next week for episode 2 of our talk. Thank you.